I'm Julia.
And I'm Denise.
And we're going to be talking about Robertson Opus. It's super exciting because we haven't seen a 999-year lease or a freehold condo launch in the CCR area in quite a while.
And it's a mixed development, so it means that there'll be commercial shops downstairs as well.
Robertson Opus is going to be taking over Robertson Walk. So if you've been to Robertson Walk, the first thing that comes to many people will definitely be wine connection, watching football late at night, and the whole vibes of the area is just...
walking along the river and things like that, walking to zoo and all.
It's the perfect area to be walking your dog. Over the weekends and even on weekdays, you'll see many dog owners walking with their many dogs.
Or just jogging around the area after work and all that. I think it's really relaxing.
I really love the vibes of the place. Without further ado, let me share with you what we'll be talking about today.
So today, of course, the first thing that we'll address is the elephant in the room lah. Will CCR, which is called Central Region, actually lose money? And also we'll be highlighting the price gap between OCR, RCR, so CCR, and also a little bit about Robertson Opus and layouts analysis from the 1 to 4 bedrooms. And importantly, is it still safe to buy? So Jobs, do you feel that CCR is always unprofitable? I think most investors or everyone in the market now, every agent is of course definitely going to talk to you about the core central region. A lot of projects are coming up this second half of the year. So Jobs, for yourself, do you feel that it's unprofitable in the core central region area?
I think the common conception that many buyers have is that the CCR region is for foreigners to buy. And the CCR properties are typically priced a lot higher because of the location that it's in, and it's at a foreigner price tag. So let's take a look at how some CCR developments have performed in the resale market.
Okay, so let's take a look at OUE Twin Peaks. This was actually launched somewhere in 2013, and as you can see, right, there have only been 2 profitable units that have been sold actually. In fact, I recently went to meet an owner that was actually selling a unit there, and she was actually shocked that she had bought in a 1-bedder about 1.6, and now people are selling about 1.1, 1.2 thereabouts, and she's actually shocked. How come this development is making losses of between 600, 800 to 1 mil itself? And I think Jobs, you actually sold a unit here, and that also sustained the loss, am I right?
Yes, I sold a unit, a 2-bed, 2-bath here recently, and the owner made about 200,000+ loss from the time when they bought it till today. And that's of course not including the amount that they spend on interest, MCSC fees, as well as renovation. Honestly, OUE Twin Peaks is a lovely development. The layout of the 2-bed, 2-bath units are excellent. You do have a very nice view as well. From certain areas, it's pretty unblocked. Landscape living and dining, bedrooms definitely can fit king-size bed. And it's also a high ceiling unit, relatively high, about 3.2 to 3.3 meters high. So when you go in and you step into the development, it's actually a very luxurious feel. So, given the fact that it feels so luxurious and it has a good layout, it's something that is very hard for the sellers to understand and to accept is, how come my development still lose money?
And FYI, the people that I met, they were Singaporean as well, they were not foreigners, and they were just shocked how come the development actually dropped so much in price point.
So let's take a look at the purchase price of these owners when they first bought the property. So if you look here, the purchase price is on this column, and the sale price that they eventually sold at was at this price. So now OUE is around how many years old now?
13 years old. So when it first launched, just to give you guys a bit of background, they were launching as high as 3,500 within that core central area, which a lot of Singaporeans actually couldn't really accept. Of course, now fast forward 13 years later, prices have caught up, prices in OCR have caught up, even ECs are selling at 1,008 to 1,009 PSF. So that's why now the core central region appears to be more attractive because it seems like the prices have caught up. But for OUE, I think it's just quite unfortunate that there were other newer developments that came up in the area as well. So now it's an older development as compared to the rest that are coming up at similar price point. That's why a lot of people can actually go in to buy at a much lower price point now, because now this is the rate that most homeowners or investors can actually accept, and it actually does have a pretty good layout for some of the units itself. So the same can also be said of Scott Square, which is just in the middle of Orchard Road basically. As you can see, the losses that they are sustaining easily could be the range of about 700k to 800k to even a mil, and 87% of the sellers are actually making losses.
So again, we always look at the purchase price of the buyers when they first bought the development.
4,000 PSF.
This was back in 2007, where having a $4,000 to $3,008 price tag was quite unheard of. But of course, there were still buyers who really loved the development and bought into it. However, because the surrounding developments in District 9 were not transacting at that level yet, there was too much of a price gap for them to be able to catch up. So now in the resale market, we start to see a lot of transactions happening, and they are in the 3001, 3002 PSF entry price for all these new owners, and it is a price tag in which the market accepts.
Which means that when it launched too high of a price that people couldn't really accept, so those buyers that went in then realized that they couldn't actually sell higher than that. Because what happens is that the market just hasn't caught up to that price point, or rather, it has been actually overpriced. So that's why it's very important when buying into CCR to spot the right project, so that you don't just anyhow buy just because of FOMO or just because there's a rush to get in and all. It's of course important to sit down and analyze and look through the numbers and see which projects are feasible to actually enter into.
So you can see in terms of the holding period, the buyers entered around 2007. That was the first batch of buyers. And they held for about 17 years. So in 17 years, at about a price tag of 3008, 4003, 4001, even till today, the market still has not caught up to that level yet. And this is 17 years later. 17 years later, market accepted norm is about 3003, 3002, 3001. So this is what people are ready to pay for in the resale market for something about maybe 15 years old.
15 years old, freehold.
And in this area. So that's why we are quite optimistic to see how Robertson Opus will be launched. If it's launched in somewhere around this range, it can be considered quite a safe entry because market has already accepted and transacted in the resale market something that would definitely need renovation. Fittings inside are not brand new, and they are already accepted and transacted at this kind of pricing.
So Jules, why are buyers willing to buy into Orchard these days at this kind of price point, 3,002, 3,000 PSF, even for an older development? Why? I'm just quite curious now. Why are buyers willing to accept this price point these days?
So in the CCR region, it's widely accepted that properties in the CCR region are prime properties, or they are properties which are very well located in the heart of Singapore. And it's always going to be properties there which are going to be at the highest price in Singapore. And the other regions will be priced a little bit lower. Let's take a look at how it has performed from 2005 till now.
Okay, so in 2005, the price gap between CCR and RCR, which is Core Central and rest of Core region, the gap was about 33% gap. Then between CCR and OCR, which is outside of Core region, it's about 50%. And later, we see in 2015, the gap has started to shrink a little. What happened is that for RCR versus CCR, 27%. And then OCR to CCR, it'll be 50%. There's still a big gap.
So actually for CCR and OCR, the gap was widening from 2005 to 2015. However, in 2025, you can see that CCR versus RCR, the price gap is only 4.09%. And for CCR versus OCR, the price gap is around 22.9%. And of course, these are for new sales which have already been transacted. However, if you notice the news recently about the Bayshore GLS, the information is going to shock you.
So what happened was that there were 8 bids, so it's actually a very competitive land site because it's a new area that the government is actually earmarking, and this is the first project they'll be launching in the area itself. And guess what? They could potentially sell somewhere between 2007 to 2008 in Bayshore, which is 20-25 minutes to the city and nearer the airport. So if you are a homeowner today, would you rather top up slightly to buy into a Core Central region?
So basically, OCR pricing for a new launch will potentially be about 2,700 to 2,800 for an OCR property. If you calculate and give a gap of about 22.9%, what do you think that gap would be? And if we are able to find properties in the CCR region which are lesser than that gap, do you see an opportunity here today? So if you're wondering whether you should be getting a CCR property or an OCR property, there are actually many other factors besides price to consider, especially if it's something for own stay. If you're buying something for investment, there's also a different hat that you need to put on.
Scan the QR code above if you're still unsure so that we can advise you of your options over Zoom. So we've talked a lot about CCR projects being unprofitable, so many bad news, right? Are there actually any projects in the core central region that actually make money? Make us feel a little better by giving us some good news?
Actually, honestly, when I was doing the research preparing for this Robertson Opus YouTube video, the CCR unprofitable transactions were really scary. That's really the truth. However, we did find some developments which were profitable and the profit amounts are quite healthy. Let's take a look.
For example, this is a 99-year project, Martin Modern, developed by Coco Land. As you can see, the highest profit here for even the 3 and 4 bedrooms have actually hit somewhat between 700k to $1 million within a 6 to 7 year holding period.
So if you take a look at the holding period, let's say for this owner here, it's approximately about 100k per year, and these are the kind of profits that you would see in developments in the OCR as well. So what we are trying to say here is that within each district itself, regardless of whether it's a CCR, OCR or RCR, selecting the right development with the right factors to allow you a safe entry as well as a safe exit is very important. And this is not just based on layout, it's not just based on tenure, it's a combination of many factors that we'll be able to share with you today in our video. And if you want to find out more, also please scan the QR code to reach out to us and we'll hop on a Zoom call to explain more.
We spoke about 99-year project, which is Martin Modern, and as we can see, even a 99-year project is making pretty strong profits. What about a freehold project? Will it be still profiting if it's in this area as well? So let's take a look at the entry price of these owners when they first entered into District 9. So as you can see, a lot of them entered in 21, 22, and these are the price point of current OCR projects. So these people have actually bought in 2017 and currently they're exiting around 2007 to 2009. So this is the current accepted PSF for a 99-year project in District 9.
So you can see that 2017 and now we're in 2025, just a mere 8 years, the market has shifted so much that the entry price of a CCR property is now 8 years later the entry price of something in the OCR. So given a crystal ball and given a choice, which one will you choose? So Avenir achieved TOP in 2024, that's just last year. It's a joint venture with Coco Land and Hong Leong, 376 units. Let's take a look at the entry price of the buyers.
Of a freehold project in 2020.
So the entry price was about 3.2, 3.4, this one's almost 3.5. On average, it's about 3,002 to 3,004. Let's take a look at their exit. 3006, 3007, 3007, 35, and then one which is even as low as 3057. And for this owner, they still made a profit of 369,000 for a holding period of around 3 years plus. So again, that's about a gain of 100,000 per year, which is quite healthy.
So averagely, you can see most of the price point that they're exiting for a project that just TOP is from 3,003 to 3,007, and you're getting a brand new freehold condo in the River Valley area.
I heard that for Robertson Opus, the launch price is not going to be so high, right?
Yeah, it's actually going to be launching from what we heard, roughly maybe 3-ish to 3.1, 3.2 thereabouts.
So, get something which is brand new, no one lived in before, at a lower price tag, or get something which is ready for move-in, about 1 year old, for around this entry price.
Which one would you choose? So all these people that are profiting somewhere in the range of 500 to 1 million, are they mostly locals or are they mostly foreigners? I'm still curious in District 9. Is it still like what most people say? All foreigners, all rich billionaires that are buying into this area. Is it still true?
Second property lah, or people who buy 10 properties at one shot, buy the whole level. These are all the foreigners. And there's a common conception that CCR properties are only owned by foreigners. So let's take a look.
Yep, is it really true? So when we look at the breakdown between Martin Modern and the Avenir, actually what we notice is that it's very similar. Between the buyer profiles, right, largely it's about maybe 40 to 50% Singaporean, then after that 20 to 30% PRs, and the rest of it will be foreigners. So naturally there will still be foreigners that buy in, but it could be people with US passports and all that they need to pay the ABSD, or they could have just paid the ABSD to get like a holiday home.
So you can see that majority of the ownership are local ownership. PRs are considered locals as well. There is a demand in the District 9 area, there is a demand in the CCR area by locals here in Singapore.
District 9 is a bit different from Marina Bay and all that. District 9 itself, you have a lot of good schools in that area. You have ACS, River Valley Primary, SCGS. So it borders between District 10, but yet you're still very close to the city. And also it attracts young families who either don't have children or young couples planning for children. They like staying near the city and also near their workplace. I think River Valley itself attracts a really mixed crowd. Not just fully investors, but actually a lot of people who want it for their own stay.
I actually do have a client who came into Singapore as a foreigner, worked here, and while they were working here, they were staying in the River Valley area. They loved it so much, and then when they finally became citizens after working here for quite a number of years, they also eventually bought a property within River Valley itself.
Because you will want to buy where you rent. You already know the area well, and you're familiar where you're going to walk your dog, where you're going to bring your family for dinners and things like that. So I think this really works out for people who love staying like near the city, but just not right smack in the CBD itself.
Denise! This looks so familiar and brings back super a lot of memories, right?
Yeah, you know, when I was 18, 19, I didn't even know what clubbing was, and I didn't even know what Robertson Walk was. So I was actually brought here because they had an arts bash, and we had an event at Zouk later on, and this is the first place that we all would get drinks first and then go over to Zouk. And I still remember myself sitting along the riverside, and I'm like, someday I'm going to stay here, because I look at all the luxurious condos across, I look at people jogging, I look at people walking the dogs. I'm like so envious that they're living in such nice apartments, and then I'm like, oh, still a student, cannot afford it yet.
You are totally revealing our age, but yes. Robertson Walk has many fond memories for me. I remember standing here, watching soccer, drinking
late night soccer matches and all that.
My uni friends before going to Zouk, being here late night on Saturday, and then coming here for brunch on Sunday mornings to have brunch along the cafes here at Robertson
Keith Cafe.
Yes,
and
Keith
all
Cafe.
that, yeah.
And there was all the chocolate places as well, the Korean and Japanese food. There were so many eateries here. And I remember standing here at the fountain and looking up and thinking to myself, wow, this is really my dream location. When I grow up, I want to stay here next time.
Yeah, but sadly it's all service apartments, and you can't even stay there unless you're paying like a few hundred a night and that kind of thing. But I really like the ambience in that area itself, because it's like a square itself. You don't only see this kind of square when you go to Spain and all that, the central square. It felt like that central square kind of feeling. And I think what the developer wants is also something similar when they rebuilt it into Robertson Opus.
So Robertson Walk will be demolished, and this will be how Robertson Opus, old Robertson Walk, will look like. And it actually looks very nice. There's a lot more greenery now, looks more modern. This is a little bit dated. And now that I'm grown up, I can finally fulfill my dreams.
So are you going to move there?
Depends on the entry price and the layout. Super exciting, Robertson Opus will have 348 units of residential units, mix of 1-bedroom to 4-bedroom units. It will also still be a mixed development where you have commercial units on level 1. Then the residential floors will start on level 2.
So it'll be 5 blocks, 9 to 10 floors high, essentially still capturing the same kind of town square vibe that it has, okay, but now a bit more elevated. And it still will have commercial units downstairs for the residents and people who stay in the area itself. Everyone's so used to that already.
It will be very nice because now there will be a lot more landscaping and a lot more greenery in that area. In terms of the tenure of the land, as you already know, it's 999 years and it starts from 1st July 1841. Also my wedding anniversary. Ooh, maybe this is a sign.
What, 1841?
1st of July is my wedding anniversary, so maybe it's a sign I should be getting Robertson Opus.
I thought you got married in 1841. Okay, sorry.
Yes, my doctors are very good.
She's still alive at this age.
So it will be already estimated around 2028 Q4, so that's about 3 years' time. So there are 348 units and 278 car park lots.
But we believe that this won't be an issue because you just have Fort Canning MRT within walking distance. So most of the tenants who rent in this area likely to be renting maybe the 1 to 2 bedrooms, and then the 3 bedrooms will largely be maybe families or those who have a car. So they are likely to also park their car at home, but maybe take the MRT to work, then maybe use the car on weekends, maybe for their kids or to head out or whatsoever.
So 278 lots shared between 348 units. Don't foresee it to be too much of a problem, and also because car ownership rates aren't that high at the moment, and given the location of Robertson Opus being close to the bus stop as well as MRT station, we don't foresee people fighting so much over the lots.
So we have spoken so much about the location itself. Let us now zoom into it. Robertson Opus will be somewhere here, right smack in between a couple of other projects. You're walking distance to New Borough, and across the road you have Fort Canning MRT. So that's why, like we mentioned earlier, I think most people that stay here would actually use the MRT to commute to work and all.
So in terms of MRT connectivity, you're about 2 stops to Outram Park, 3 stops to Tanjong Pagar, 3 stops to Dhoby Ghaut, which is where you have your Circle Line and your North-East Line, 5 stops to Marina Bay, and 5 stops to Orchard. So very centrally located.
Or you can take a Grab. It's going to be really convenient to get around.
Probably will cost you about $10 just to get everywhere. Looking at the bird's eye view of Robertson Opus is actually surrounded by quite a number of buildings. UE Square, Robertson House, Village Residences, the Pier, and then also shop houses. So in terms of the view, I don't think that you're going to be getting very good views from Robertson Opus. Let's take a look at the distance between the blocks.
So actually distance between the blocks, what happens is that you're maybe about 15 meters to Robertson House, you're about 25 meters to UE Square, and then you are about 26 meters to Mohammed Sultan. Basically, you are all surrounded by condos. But I think in this area, all the condos are also quite tight in terms of spacing next to each other because it's so central. So I think no one will actually buy this area for the view per se, but a lot of them really buy for the location and connectivity. So within the block-to-block distance in the project itself, what I really like is the distance between block 7 and block 13. That's about 57 meters. Between 11 and 21 will be quite close, like about 21 meters. Essentially, you see a bit of the pool, and then you really see your neighbor quite close.
Do you think if I threw a ball from block 11, it would reach block 15?
That's if you can throw something that's 21 meters.
Should be possible, right?
Well, I don't think I can throw so far. Like, I'm not that strong, but yeah, maybe you can try. Maybe you stand here and you shout to someone here. I think they might be able to hear
definitely.
you.
Because for this area here, it will be like a void, right, where you can look down. Similar concept of what Robertson Walk is right now before they shuttered the areas.
So in terms of the project itself, as you can see, it's surrounded by a lot of other projects and condos. So unfortunately, there won't be any unblocked view, but I think anyone buying into River Valley and Robertson Quay, you won't expect that because it's really for the location, as all the condos are also packed quite tightly next to each other in terms of the distance.
The location and the vibes.
Yeah, it's really location and vibes. They don't expect you to be looking out and seeing something unblocked. But if you really want a nice view, I think internal facing should be quite okay because you actually see a lot of greenery and the pool itself. But externally, there's really not much view. Like surrounding, you'll see maybe shop houses here, but because it's a sloped, I think there won't be anything unblocked. So I think if you want something that's quieter, maybe an internal view may be better.
But even if it's an internal view, it's not going to be very quiet because this area here is an open area where you can look down onto level 1 where the hustle and bustle is. Something like what Robertson Walk is currently now, if you've managed to visit the area before they shuttered the place.
Yep, so if there's going to be like, for example, soccer match and all that, it might be something that you might be able to hear. So I'm also not sure the tenant mix eventually, they might make it a quieter, more classier vibe. We're also not very certain, but at least you still have commercial shop downstairs to serve your needs, maybe hopefully a cold storage or maybe a few cafes and all. When we look at the unit mix, we notice that the suites and 1 bedrooms will be only about 22%, which means that 78% will be 2 to 4 bedrooms, largely catering to people who want want an own stay unit itself. The one and the suite will be largely for investors who want to buy, to lease out. So the rest of it, we do foresee that the take-up rate will be quite popular, especially between the 2 and 3 bedroom types, especially given that this is Robertson Quay, River Valley area.
One thing to note is that for the 2-bedroom, it's a 2-bed, 2-bath. In this development itself, there is no 2-bed, 1-bath. So you can see that the developer has planned it such that it's really for own stay and it's really for your dinks. Double income, no kids, or even a small family, you can have a 2-bed, 2-bath and live quite comfortably inside. If you look at the sizes here though, the 2 bedrooms are quite a comfortable size. If you're looking at buying a 2-bedroom in this area and you want to buy something that's new, there's a chance that you could potentially get a brand new 3-bedroom just for a slight top-up of about $100,000+. Watch our next video to find out more.
Jobs, do you realize there's only 9 4-bedroom units? Why so few?
It's really interesting because it's just going to be one step in the whole development and 9. And for me, I find that very interesting because I've never seen a development with so little of the large bedroom types. I would have expected like maybe around 2 stacks minimum, because if you can see that Avenir, which we've talked about just now, as well as Martin Modern, they have a much larger amount of 4 bedrooms here. So for 9 units within the development, which are only 4 bedroom, does it present as a risk or an opportunity for buyers? Watch till the end for our analysis of the 4 bedroom layouts as well as the demand in the area, and you'll be able to come to the decision yourself.
So the facilities are largely on the 2nd floor. The pool is actually located over here, and most of the amenities are all also on the 2nd floor. As you can see, in between there's actually a void. So this void is similar to what they have now in Robertson Walk, where people who are staying on top can actually look below to the shops, to the bustling area at the town square.
So you can see this is the 2nd story, and the development will be at maximum 10 stories. If you are the kind that really loves greenery and you love a good view and you don't want to be disturbed by the view of the external facing developments, you can potentially choose a lower floor unit and get a good view. But of course, the only trade-off for that is that it may not be as quiet.
Yep, it could be noisy depending on the tenant mix of those on the 1st floor. And next, for those who have guests and all that, there's also the roof terrace for you to head up to. There are also some facilities on the roof terrace itself.
So we visited the show flat last week for Roberston Opus and we realized something really special. The developer has split 3 different types of interior finishings for their layout types. We have the Premier Collection, the Luxury Collection, and the Legacy Collection. And you can see that in the living, dining, and kitchen, for those under the Premier Collection, you'll be able to find stone look-alike large format tiles which are 1.4 meters by 1.4 meters. And this is very, very unheard of in new developments. It's huge, and what this means is that you have a very, very luxurious feel. You know, when you step into a hotel or high-end developments, you see large format tiles. And immediately the moment you go in, it's a very comfortable feeling and you feel like it's very classy. And for the luxury collection, you also have large format tiles which are 1.4 meters by 1.4 meters. Lastly, for the Legacy Collection, you'll be able to have marble flooring, which are 600 by 600. 600 by 600 mm is really quite big as well. Typically, in many developments, you will see 30 by 30. So when you walk in, you will get a very nice, classy feel, and when you look at the floor, you don't have that many joint lines and it just gives you a very comfortable feel. The best way is for you to come down and take a look. Scan the QR code, let us know, and we'll fix an appointment for you to come and take a look at the show flat.
So let's start off with the floor plans, and the first one I'm going to analyze is actually the suite, or rather the studio unit. So essentially nothing much to really say about it. Once you step in, you have your open concept kitchen, your bathroom here, and it really is very open concept in terms of the master bedroom. Like even if you try to build a wall, I don't think it's actually possible. And in fact, it feels a lot like an elevated hotel room if you ask me. So one thing interesting about this is that they do have high ceiling, okay, 3.225, and essentially I feel that this is something that most investors will want to invest in. And in fact, just to share, last week I actually visited my client's unit, and this is at OU Twin Peaks. Something very similar as well, where it's an open concept kind of bedroom with a living space, and it really felt like a hotel room. They really feel at home for me, and perhaps that's why why with this layout, this project is actually losing some 400 to 500k. So for investors who are buying into this project, do ensure you are entering at the right price point, because there are going to be 4 more plots that are launching in the River Valley area very close by, and easily they can actually buy in some 200k lower than you. So if you want to find out more, you want to understand your risk of buying into this area, scan the QR code above and let's kickstart a chat with us.
So the 2-bed 2-bath is under the Premium collection, and very nice. It has a kitchen here which you are able to conceal. It comes with windows for ventilation when you're doing heavy cooking. Walk in here, all your bedrooms are tucked on the side, and your master bedroom can definitely fit a king size bed. Common bedroom fits a queen. Only thing to note is that the 2-bed 2-bath is a corner unit, so we've seen many of the new launches these days, the 2-bed 2-bath, they're not corner units, so you won't be able to find windows in the toilet or windows in the kitchen. So in this layout type, you have windows in the kitchen and the bathroom. Another thing to note is that this comes with high ceiling as well, same as the studio unit. So this is the 2+ study, which stands at 743 square feet. You walk in, you have your kitchen here. Only thing to note, the difference between this and the previous 2-bedroom unit is that this kitchen has no windows. But of course, you do have the potential to conceal it. And similar with the other 2-bed 2-bath layout, this is a glass panel which allows for light to come through when you're in the kitchen. So the whole house will be quite brightly lit during the day. This one is a dumbbell layout as compared to the previous one, which is bedrooms all tucked on one side. This will be a dumbbell layout, both facing each other. The common bedroom will also have a Jack and Jill bathroom, which allows you to split it into 2 master bedrooms on both sides. Only difference to note is that for this common bedroom, it's slightly smaller, standing at about 9 meters square, compared to the master bedroom, which is 10.9 meters square. You have a study here which you're able to convert into a utility room. So this will be very palatable to those who are coming from 3-room HDB, or you want to upgrade to stay in this area and you don't need too many bedrooms and you would like to convert this study into an additional utility room. This is one layout that many of the buyers would consider. However, there's one thing that we would like to alert you about. Given the size of 743 square feet for a 2-bed plus study, what was the size for Lentor Mansion's 3-bedroom again?
It was actually 786 square feet, and in fact all the rooms have windows, and it's really a really good layout. I think that was one of the better layouts that I've seen, and it was fully snapped up on the launch day itself. So we suspect that that could also challenge us in future when we want to sell, because the upcoming 4 plots, if they have something similar in terms of layout wise, can you imagine people could easily be buying a 3-bedroom at a 2-bedder pricing. So where does that put you in future?
So let's say that the new upcoming launches in the River Valley area, they are able to do a 3-bed 2-bath at 786. You're looking at paying about $100,000 to $120,000 more for upgrading your study into an additional bedroom. That bedroom, you would be able to, number 1, have more space. Number 2, have windows. In this layout, you do not have windows. And you are able to convert it to whatever usage that you want, and of course sell it as a 3-bed 2-bath instead of a 2+ study.
So I think that with this price, I think for all investor friends and clients, if you want to find out more about how to catch on or look at such opportunities, feel free to just scan the QR code and kickstart a chat with us. Now I'll go into the 3-bed collection. So as you can see, I'll start from the smallest, and what we notice is that all the 3 bedrooms actually have a flexi room. And because this is not PPVC, you can actually hack most of the walls between all the rooms, so you can configure it the way you like. Maybe make a bigger room, or even actually hack off this so you have a larger dining space. So honestly, I think that this is very well optimized. Let's say if it's a young family, a couple without any children, this will be perfect. Likewise for C2S as well. And what I noticed about this Stack 15, maybe just let me show you, it's very close to the other block. Honestly, I think maybe if I stand here, I probably might see the person here. I might be able to pass them stuff as well. It's actually that close. So honestly, for this stack, although it's facing inwards towards the pool, this is something I feel very confused about, because I think it might be a bit too close to the other block. And honestly, between these 2 layouts, the difference is only a balcony in your master. So a balcony in your master and you have to pay more just to be able to pass things to someone from the other block. I'm not so sure if I'm willing to pay higher for that lah.
Yeah, so on paper and on plan, 980 square feet sounds great because it sounds like it's a bigger space. But from what we're seeing from the floor plan, it looks like the additional space that you're paying for is for a balcony. So depending on how the developer decides to price the unit, the balcony might cost you about $100,000 to $200,000.
Yeah. Now we look at the other layout, C3S. So this layout, as we can see, same thing. It's very similar to what we had before, but also an additional balcony, and this is 1012 square feet, and the difference is really the walkway. Remember the one that we had earlier didn't really have, it was quite straight in and all that, but this you have an additional walkway. So likewise, it's like paying maybe 200-300k more for an additional balcony and walkway space. Yeah. And same things for C4S. This one is slightly more straightforward that you get in. This one also still has the balcony. So these are the different facings that we have actually noted down. You know, Stack 3 is facing Muhammad Sultan, Stack 14 is actually facing UE Square, so they are actually facing outwards. Okay, so the difference really for this 3-bedder flexi is really in terms of whether it has a balcony in the master or whether it has more additional walkway space when you enter.
And the facing as well. So you realize that for the bigger sized units, some of them are actually outward facing. But that being said, the outward facing units, the roads that they face, they are not busy roads. They're quiet roads. They mainly serve people who are going to the area. You won't be having like traffic jams, expressway noise, and it's going to be generally quite peaceful if you're staying there. You would be able to conduct your day with the windows open.
And I noticed there's a lot of roadside parking, which means that actually at any one point there's really only like one row of cars. It's not like a lot of cars at the same time, because part of it has actually been reserved for roadside parking in the area itself. Next, for the C5S layout, likewise 1044 square feet, but essentially you'll be paying for this extra walkway and this extra balcony space. So all in all, you could be paying easily 300k more just for this additional square footage itself. And this layout is actually inward facing towards the pool, so we are likely to see that developer may load more PSF on this one and make this a more expensive stack to actually buy into.
So it's very important to have a very good sense of the layouts which are available from the developer and to plan and map out what the potential prices from the developer will be. And based on the starting price of, say, the smallest unit, we map it out and we'll give you different scenarios so that on launch day or when you're buying it from the developer, you'll be able to understand how the developer loads the premium on the different units, and you will be able to see, okay, if I'm going to be buying Stack 2, what is the extra premium that I'll be paying? And that is very crucial because it would determine your entry price as well as how safe your exit will be.
Next, I'll go into the 3-bed premium legacy collection. So this is actually one of my favorite layouts. Okay?
This is the biggest layout that is available, right?
Yeah, and this is the show flat layout. So what I really liked when I actually went to visit the show flat that day was when you enter, what I really liked was really this kind of open concept kitchen, because this actually forms part of your living space, like when you're not cooking, and then when you're cooking you can just seal it up. This will be just as a normal kitchen. But imagine when I have guests, my guests can basically hang out around here. I can serve food over here as well, and I get a very large master bedroom. And what I like about this, between this and the 3-bed flexi, is that the flexi room is actually right next to the master, so I can potentially hack this and make it a much larger master bedroom. So this honestly is one of my favorite layouts actually in this entire project, simply because of this flexibility of the kitchen being able to enclose and be able to be part of my living space.
So you can see from the floor plan here, what you see as the lines here, those are actually movable glass walls. So you are able to move those glass partitions to partition out your kitchen, to close it when you're doing super heavy cooking, and when you're not, just move the glass panels away and then you'll be able to have an open concept kitchen.
It forms part of your living space, so it makes your living space feel very big.
Another thing to note is that for this flexi room, for this layout type, it's 4.5 square meters and it's actually big enough for you to put a single bed inside. Also, it comes with windows. So this can be also used as a guest room. And in terms of your storage, no worries, you'll be able to store everything in your household shelter here. So this layout here really is very beautiful, especially when you have a common bedroom that can lead out to your landscape balcony.
So I really like this. And then for this layout, it's basically stack 11 and 12 that's facing UE square. There's also one more stack of it, but it's just facing the other way. I would say it's basically very similar in the sense that you still have that entire open kind of concept kitchen, you have a bomb shelter, the flexi room is next to the master, and you have a long balcony. So between these two stacks, I feel that stack 10 will be slightly more expensive compared to 11 and 12. Developer will definitely load the premium on this because it's facing inwards towards the pool area. Okay.
This layout, I'm quite certain you haven't seen before. When we stepped into the show flat, we were frankly quite surprised, but I actually quite like it. We are of differing opinions, Denise and I, but I personally quite like it. So let's take a look at this duoflex. It's part of the luxury collection, 990 square feet, and for this duoflex layout, there are a total of 5 stacks.
That's a lot in the whole development.
Yes, there's a total of 5 stacks. One is 990 and then there's another stack which is slightly larger. You walk in, you're able to leave your door open because it's like a concealed area. When you walk past the walkway, you will walk past your common bedroom as well as the common bath. And this common bedroom here, it's a Jack and Jill style, so it can act as a junior master as well. And you can see the size of this common bedroom here, which is 10.9 square meters. This is also the size of the master bedroom in a 2-bed 2-bath unit here at Robertson Opus. So this is really like a junior master. And for your guests who are here, they can come in and use this common bathroom. Only thing that is a little bit interesting about this layout is that there's an open kitchen concept. That is still not the interesting part. The interesting part is that it comes with windows for natural ventilation. However, the developer is not doing gas piping into the unit, and it's induction cooking despite having windows here. So that's something that I find very interesting. Another thing to note is that this master bathroom is also a Jack and Jill style bathroom where your guests can use this master bath here without having to enter the master bedroom. So essentially for this unit here, you have 2 bathrooms which are both Jack and Jill. So it's quite suitable for those who are looking to maybe rent out half the space in terms of co-living style, because the kitchen is something that has to be shared. There's no way that you will have a studio area here because your washer and dryer are here and your fridge will be here, and there's really no space within the house to really partition it into a dual key concept. But I can see what the developer is aiming at here is for 2 different families to stay together. In terms of 2 different generations, it could be maybe the parents stay here or grandparents can stay here, and then the small family, maybe a couple with 1 kid, can stay on this side of the house. And then your communal area, which is quite large, 25.2 square meters as well as 13 square meters of shared space here.
Or it can appeal to investors who actually want to do co-living options from this, because you can easily rent this out. For example, for this part, it can be rented out as a little mini studio, and then this one also as a large master, this one as a common room. So for those who actually want to invest, buy into this area where there are a lot of expats who want to rent, this could be possible as well. But yeah, I do foresee that this will appeal to families more. Although I do find that it's maybe families who don't cook as much, because you see it's an induction stove. I've used induction stove all the time, so I'm totally fine with it. But maybe some families who do heavy cooking, they might prefer the other layouts where there's the traditional gas stove and all that.
But I actually do have a client who lives in a land that super loves induction. They changed everything to induction, and they said that with induction, you still can achieve wok hei.
And it's actually safer, because when you have fire and all that, some people are a bit afraid that it's not safe for children. Maybe induction is really the way to go, actually.
This will be quite comfortable for own stay. The only thing that you need to accept is that for a unit that is this size, it's an open kitchen concept. And if you're looking to buy from an investment perspective, the numbers are very important to see whether or not your potential rental, if you're buying to rent out, will be able to cover your mortgage expenses and give you a little bit of profit while it is being rented out. So if you're keen to find out more and whether this duoflex, the numbers, they make sense for you, scan the QR code on the side there to contact us to arrange for a Zoom appointment, and we'll drive deep into the numbers to analyse for you whether this duoflex in the luxury collection is suitable for you or whether there are better alternatives out there based on your investment needs. So there's actually quite a number of different layout types within the 3-bedroom. We have the 3-bed plus flexi, we also have the 3-bedroom duoflex, and we also have the 3-bedroom premium, which Denise and I have covered. We've also done up a 3-bedroom cheat sheet which lists out the different collection that is in, the key differences between all the bedroom types, the type of facing, as well as the potential PSF and the potential premium that you've got to watch out for if you're buying a unit within Robertson Opus, because the difference can potentially be up to around $700,000 to $800,000 if you do not have a very good bird's eye view of what's going on and how the developer is pricing these units on launch day and even after launch.
And this can help you avoid the wrong type of layouts that may not be suitable for your investment or own stay strategy.
We're giving this cheat sheet to all our clients who decide that they want to place a check for Robertson Opus, or clients who are exploring whether or not to go into a development in the River Valley area. So scan the QR code to reach out to us to hop onto a Zoom call today.
So when I searched current supply of 3-bedders in the District 9 area, I noticed that it's really not a lot of units. Only 102 3-bedders, and a lot of them are duplicated listings. So what happens is that I'm looking for something that is maybe 10 years old, basically 3 bedrooms in the area itself, and essentially here are some of the results that I wanted to share. So you have things like Sophia Residences. This is a slightly bigger project, but it's over at the Somerset side. So if you really like the River Valley, you like to stay near the river and things like that, then it's really like Avenir, which is actually very new, but only has 51 units. So honestly, the next jump to a bigger project that is 200 plus units will be 8 St. Thomas, where the 3-bedder starts from already 3.6 million. Otherwise, the next one will be a brand new Avenir, which starts from 4.2, and as we have seen, it's already been transacting about 3.7 itself.
And these are all for freehold 3-bedroom units of a mid-sized development in the District 9 area. The 4-bedroom layout is excellent. So let's take a look at this. You come in, you have your dining, which can comfortably sit at 8 to 10 seater table. You have your junior master tucked on one side. It's very large, and you have an ensuite here, and you even have space for a study table or a dresser. And then you have the rest of your bedrooms on the other side. Then you can see that all your bedrooms are facing the same direction. For this 4-bedroom unit, you will have dual balconies as well. And the balcony, the main landscape balcony here, will also have access from bedroom number 4. Walk into the kitchen. This kitchen also has the same concept as the 3-bedroom premium that we saw just now. These movable glass partitions allow you flexibility in terms of whether you want open kitchen and closed kitchen concept. You walk into the kitchen, you have your yard, you have a yard toilet, and you also have a household shelter. Household shelter is also of a good size, especially if it's a big family that's living here. You definitely will have a lot of things that you need to stuff into a household shelter. You walk in here, your bathroom is a standalone bath, comes with windows, and this will be shared between these 2 rooms. And then when you walk in, you will have a walk-in wardrobe, your master bath, and a very large master bedroom where you can see there's even space between this dressing table or study table, your king size bed, and then it also leads you to your balcony. So this layout is fantastic.
Yeah, this is a really luxurious layout. Especially the rooms, I think the rooms are really good sized.
And it stands at 1539 square feet. So that's quite a good size for a 4-bedroom. You can see that it's very spacious, junior master, and even more spacious master bedroom. This is great. But of course, the main question on everyone's mind is, how much is it gonna be? Okay, so we've done a price matrix here to see what the potential starting price or the potential price of a 4-bedroom would be here. So if I start from 3,000 PSF, it's going to be about 4.46 million. If I go up to 3.5 PSF, you're looking at an entry price of about 5.37 million. Denise, 5.379 million can buy landed leh.
Yup. I recently transacted for my client a landed, also a freehold, but it's in a different location. Sometimes location different, then 一分钱一分货啦. We got to accept that.
So different location will call for different pricing. Yes, I get that. And not everyone wants to stay in a land. I personally have no desire to stay in a landed, and I very much prefer staying in a condo, especially if it has a good layout and in a well-located development. Before we decide whether or not this is expensive, let's take a look at the demand of the 4 bedrooms in this area. So this is Rivergate, which is located at 97 Robertson Quay. The size of the 4 bedroom is at about 1,008 to 2,000 square feet, and it was sold at about 2,700 to 3,000 PSF. But that leads you to a quantum of approximately 5.75 million all the way to about 6.1, 6.2 million. Just looking on the quantum perspective, it is possible to get a 4 bedroom which is brand new, 999-year lease. This development here is a freehold development, almost the same but not really, we know. So if you look at the price in terms of entry price and from a quantum perspective, because it's at 1,539 square feet, you're looking at an entry price of around this range, which is still overall lower than the quantum and the entry price of what the buyers of the 4 bedroom in this development are entering.
And furthermore, this development is also not brand new, right? It's already about 15, 16 years old. And people are paying somewhat between 5 to 6 million for it.
5.75 to 5.8 million.
So if we're entering today at about 4 plus million, do we still have that price gap? Are we still protected?
So you can see that in terms of entry price and a quantum perspective, there is quite a gap between you and your nearby freehold development because of the size of the unit. And even though the PSF is lower, on a quantum perspective, because the square footage is higher, it leads to a higher overall price tag.
But honestly, at a price point of 3K to 3.5 PSF, is it still safe to buy into a freehold or 999-year in this area itself?
So let's take a look at Martin Modern TOP recently. Let's take a look at how much the 4 bedrooms were transacted at. Unit size is 1733 and the PSF that is transacting at is, like we said just now, is around 21 to 23 PSF. And that's what you'll be getting for a development that is 99-year leasehold in this area. However, because the square footage is higher, 200 plus square feet, it leads to a purchase price or transacted price of around 4.5, 4.9 to even $5.1 million. So if you're able to enter into Robertson Opus at a price tag which is low, potentially lower than this, something which is 99-year leasehold versus something which has 999 years, which one do you think is safer?
I'm actually very surprised to see that the rents here in this project are also very strong. Maybe you can share more about the rents in this area, because this area there are a lot of expats who also want to stay. Maybe you can share like what are these expats renting, how much are they renting at as well.
So if we look at the rents just for Martin Modern, 4 bedroom, they are looking at an average of around 16,260 per
That's
month.
a lot.
And the highest is about 18,000. And mind you, these are all within the last year. So it's a very strong and good demand for rental in this area. So let's take a look. If you were to take a loan on a $5 million property today, 30 years loan tenure at an interest rate of 2.3%, you're looking at a monthly mortgage of about $14,430 every month. When you're looking at rental, whether it's 99-year leasehold development or a 999-year leasehold development, is there a difference? No.
There's no difference honestly, but at 18K, I feel like I can rent a really nice, good size bungalow. Like, why should I rent here?
You can rent in Bukit Timah for this price. But different strokes for different folks. There's still a demand in this area, and the demand is actually quite strong. So if you look at, based on the price itself, highest going at 18. And if you look at it at 18,000, even the lowest end of a 4-bedroom, which is 14,500, the amount that you charge for your rent will be able to cover your principal as well as your interest payments. Of course, this is on the lower end. If we take the average for a 4-bedroom unit here in this area, you'll be able to also cover your MCST fees as well as your property tax and make a little bit on the side while you get yourself ready to move in the future.
Because there are only 8 units of 4 bidders in this project itself, we do see that there's some level of opportunity based on what the price point you're going to enter at. So that's going to be very important for us to help you with this analysis, because in future, all the resale that's going to be selling out there will be the 1, 2 and 3 bedrooms, which are likely to price at a higher PSF. So essentially you're entering possibly lower, but selling at the same PSF as maybe the 3-bedder or 2-bedders itself in future. So if you want to find out more about how to capitalize on this opportunity, scan the QR code above to kickstart a chat with us.
So it's been quite a mouthful, and we've come to the end of our analysis of Robertson Opus, and there's a lot more in-depth information that we'll be happy to share with you. And within the different unit types itself in Robertson Opus, there are opportunities that we have spotted.
OCR, CCR or be it RCR, if you pick wrong, it could potentially cost you up to 6 figures in loss. So we want to help you avoid that. So in order to find out more about what is the right type to enter in or where should we potentially invest in, scan the QR code to have a chat with us, and let's hop on a Zoom together.
We'll hear from you soon.
See you next time.
Bye.